Welcome, ladies.
Alright, Azir Part 2, Arisen. Sans Part 1. This is Part 2. This is definitely my favorite series you have done. Alright, let's see what Azir Part 2 is about.
To another episode of the lore of League of Legends. In this episode, we're going to be doing something unusual for the series.
No.
Instead of doing a remastered episode of this particular champion's lore, we're going to be continuing on from where we left off in a second part to the lore of Azir, the Emperor of the Sands.
Okay.
Enjoy. Azir walked the gold-paved Emperor's Way, the immense statues of Shurima's earliest rulers, his ancestors watching his progress. Dawn arrived, and its soft, shadowy light seeped through his city. The brightest of the stars still shone overhead, soon to be snuffed out by the rising sun. The night sky was not as he remembered it. The stars and constellations were misaligned to how he remembered them. With every step he took, Azir's heavy staff struck a lonely note that echoed through the empty streets of the once great capital. The last time he walked this path, an honor guard of 10,000 elite warriors marched in his wake, the cheers of the crowd shaking the city. It was a moment of glory that was stolen from him. Now this was nothing more than a city of ghosts, and he despaired at what had become of his people. With an imperious gesture, the Emperor commanded the sands beside the roadway to rise, creating living statues. This was nothing more than a vision of the past, the echoes of the great city of Shurima given form. The figures of the sand looked forward, their heads tilted toward the immense sun disk hanging above the dais of ascension ahead. It hung there still, declaring the glory and power of Azir's empire. Yet there were none to bask in its glory. As Azir walked the Emperor's way, the echoes of sand that were his people pointed up at the sun disk, their joyful expressions turning to horror. They turned to run, stumbling and falling, and their mouths opened wide in silent screams. The Emperor watched in despairing silence, bearing witness to the last moments of his people's history. A wave of unseen energy had obliterated them, reducing them to dust and scattering them to the winds. His mind ran amok with what had gone wrong with his ascension to unleash such a catastrophe on these innocent lives. Azir's focus narrowed, his march more resolute. He reached the base of the stairs of ascension and began to climb. These stairs were sacred, and only his most trusted soldiers, the priesthood, and those of the royal bloodline were allowed to step foot upon them.
I'm more surprised that the stairs remained. Or I didn't say he raised the statues. Did he raise the whole capital? And then it's like, how did it not break? Like, it's been millennia, basically. How is it, like, kind of intact?
Sand versions of
cares?
these most favoured subjects lined his path, faces upturned, grimacing and waiting in silence before they too were swept away by the winds. His stride
See, that would be a cool-ass cinematic. This story is more interesting than Arcane. Holy shit, man. Imagine, like, you start the story, episode 1 is, like, the Shurima of, like, 1,000 years ago. Like, it starts, like, 1,000 years ago, right? And this whole, like, thing, and then it ends with Xerath, basically doing the ritual, killing Azir. Nasus and Rankton show up, they lock up Xerath, and then it ends with like a black screen of like a mad laugh from Xerath or something, and Nasus being sad that he locked his brother away with Xerath for like basically another 1,000 years. And then episode 2 starts with Sivir and Cassiopeia going into the tomb, right, into the pyramid, wherever they get sealed, right? She stabs, like, again, doesn't have to be like instantly there. They can be like a bit of like Sivir Cassiopeia story before that, and like episode 3 they could be going to the tomb, whatever. And then in the tomb, Cassiopeia, like towards the end of the episode, Cassiopeia stabs Sivir. opens the gate, Zareth and Renekton come out, and the blood of Sivir trickles down into the sand, and and you see like Azir like wakes up, and that would be the end of the episode, or some shit like that, right? Dude, that's like so much better than anything Arcane had to offer. I'm sorry. Like, that is fantasy. That is the shit I want to see. People get resurrected. There's like blood feud, not some crazy bitch.
Turned into a run. He took the steps faster than any man could, his talons digging into the stonework and carving furrows where they caught. Finally he reached the top. Here he saw the final circle of onlookers. His closest aides, his advisors, the high priests,
and
family.
By the way, I really don't care about Azir. Like, as far as like League of Legends is concerned, I never cared about Azir or Xerath. I never cared about their story. But this is such a much better fucking story and environment to do it in, and also less voice actors than Arcane could have ever been. This is just so big. I don't know where this leads, by the way. This is so far I have maybe 3 episodes in mind. I have no idea where this all leads. But I'm just saying, this is such a good story.
The Emperor dropped to his knees, his family before him.
Imagine him walking like in episode 4, right? It's like when after he's resurrected, whatever, he saves Sivir, something happens, Renekton and Xerath, I have no idea where they went and whatever, and then he just starts like, you know, as he walks towards where his throne was, he starts raising those statues, right? He raises like sand people as if like they are his people as he walks there, all sad and depressed. It's like his kingdom is gone. Walks heavily up to the stairs to his throne to just stand there and see what has become of his fucking kingdom. Basically just nothing. There's like, and then it's like you see the look of determination in his eyes to like redo his kingdom and all that shit. And then at the bottom of it you see Sivir standing. What the fuck is he doing? Right? Something like that. But I don't know, man. Just such a much more interesting story.
Rendered in perfection and heartbreaking detail. His wife was heavy with child. His daughter clutching his wife's hand.
All the shit, man. Ghosts of the past, you know? Like, as he stands there, thinks about his previous kingdom, right? Imagines, or like, there's gonna be a comparison. Like, as he walks, he creates these sand people and sand stalls. But, like, what he sees, like, so what we see would be the sand people. What he sees is, like, what used to be there. Like, man, he's so good.
On the brink of becoming a man.
Oh, that would be emotional as fuck, man. That would be like, man, my heart hurts.
The Emperor saw their expressions change. He knew what was to come, but could not look away. His daughter hid her face in the folds of his wife's dress. His son reached for his sword, shouting in defiance. His wife, her eyes widened with sorrow and despair emanating from them. And in a moment, the unseen event blasted them into nothingness.
Well, it couldn't have blasted them into nothingness because... what's her name? Sivir has his blood, so, I mean...
It was too much, but no tears welled in his eyes. His ascended form rendered that simple act of grief...
Just anger, man. I would just be angry, man.
With a heavy heart, he pushed himself to his feet.
Yeah.
The only question that remained to him was how his bloodline survived.
Yep.
For it most assuredly had. A final echo of sand awaited before him. The Emperor saw himself in his mortal form rise up into the air beneath the sun disk, his arms wide, his back arched. He remembered this moment. The power coursing through him, infusing his very being with divine strength. A newcomer formed in the sand, his trusted bondsman, the Magus Xerath. The Magus uttered a silent word, and Azir watched himself shatter and explode into motes of sand. The traitor's expression was unknowable,
but the last echo.
saw nothing but the face of a murderer before him. The image of Xerath rose higher into the air as the sun disk's energy focused into his being, the elite guards rushing towards him. but in an instant, a brutal shockwave of sand flared out, disintegrating the final moment of Shurima, and once more, Azir stood among the dying echoes of his past. He now knew what had killed his people.
His hubris, but also Zerath.
Azir turned away just as the first rays of the new dawn struck the sun disk overhead. He'd seen enough, and he knew that the traitor still lived. He could sense Zerath's essence in the air that he breathed. The Emperor lifted a hand, and an army of his elite warriors rose from the sands at the base of the stairs of ascension. "Zerath," he said, the voice of the Emperor tinged with rage. "Your crimes will not go unpunished."
Such a better story than Arcane, bro. I'm sorry. This would have been so much better. Holy shit, man. This is the fall of an empire we're talking about here. This is so much more interesting than family drama. I'm sorry, but yeah. And again, I don't even care about these characters, but in comparison, oh my god, just the story as a base. Holy shit, man.
And that's...
God damn, bro, so much better. I cannot even put into words how much better this is than whatever Arcane ever was. Yeah, wow. Like, I'm literally getting goosebumps thinking about what it could have been, how big this could have been, man. They need, like, fuck, cancel Arcane 2, put it on hold, do this. For all I care, it can be like Castlevania that does on like 4 or 5 episodes per season, has like 4 seasons, so it's like 16 episodes. Do this instead, okay? Do this 4 or 5 episodes of like major stories that revolve around many heroes for, like, you know, call it, instead of Castlevania, call it League of Legends, and just combine these stories into time and space. Oh my god, this is so much better than Arcane. Jesus Christ. And this is like in my head, right? It's not even out. And in my head, this is so much better. Potentially, obviously. Holy shit, man. Anyways, let's go next.